Hey everybody, welcome back to Pardon Will Live. I'm your host, David Lilly, aka Pardon Will, and it's Sunday night, 8:30 on the dot. Your boy is getting good at this. Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with me on a Sunday night, doing live streaming. We're going to talk about a movie I saw today, Captain America 4, Brave New World, which I cleverly titled this episode Brave New Clown World, because we also got a bunch of clips of clowns making clowns of themselves, and we're going to laugh at them because that's what we do. We always here to have a good time. And if you like having a good time and you're loving this podcast, go ahead and like and subscribe. Ya jabronis down there at the bottom, it tells you what to do. Always do what you're told to do. That's a lesson for today. Do what you're told to do. And if you really, really love Pardon Will Live, you can also go to pardonwill.com. How you like that branding? Pardon Will everything. Go to pardonwill.com. I got two things I'm going to show you tonight. This week was the anniversary of this guy, a book that I published last year, almost a year ago, give or take a few days. Anyway, it's called By Every Meaningless Measure. It's a book of art and poetry. It's all my stuff. You can go there, purchase you a copy, and support the podcast. Support me as a person, as an artist, and as a poet. Because I don't know if you know this, guys, I'm multifaceted. On top of that, I've made some merch, and now this is the theme of tonight. We're gonna do this Captain America shirt that I got. Now it's a watercolor. I actually have the watercolor up on my Etsy too. So if you're like, I love that Captain America helm, it's part of a series that I did. A bunch of helmets. It's Captain America's helm. I slapped that guy on a t-shirt along with some other cool ones we got here. Go to pardonwill.com. Buy yourself a shirt. Buy yourself a book. Buy yourself something. Treat yourself at pardonwill.com, while also simultaneously treating me and the podcast with some awesomeness. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you liking and subscribing. Chat is open, so if you want to hang out and chit chat with me, more than welcome to hop in there. So tonight, I get it, like Brave New just came out, and I know everyone likes to talk the old politics, and we're going to get to it, sort of, maybe not. We're going to continue on this culture war track, and I figure we bring in some old Marvel, because you guys know I like talking about comic book stuff. I mean, that was basically all of last week. It's talking about Marvel movies, but they're throwing them out left and right like Gambit. Just lighting them up and tossing them out to you. Everybody's got to pay attention to what's going on in the MCU, because who knows what's next. I hate to tell you guys, none of it's connected. So if you missed Brave New World, chances are you're fine. Chances are you're going to be totally fine. Oh, by the way, spoilers. Probably going to spoil a little bit of the movie. I'm going to do my best not to spoil it for you guys. It's not a ton to spoil that you haven't already seen in the trailer. Don't know if you guys know this, but Harrison Ford is the Red Hulk. Sorry. Anyway, spoilers. You guys were warned. We're going to talk about Brave New World, guys. We're going to get right into it. So this is the movie I went and saw. Sweet poster, by the way. I like when they do stuff like this. So here's my take. We're going to get right into the Brave New World. I wasn't technically looking forward to this movie. I mean, I was, but it was like one of those, like, I'm sure it'll be okay. And lo and behold, I was right. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. It was mediocre at best. And I feel bad because, well, actually, I don't feel bad at all. It's frustrating because anybody You could have sat down and watched the whole thing. Now, I have a bunch of problems with it. A few things I didn't mind it. But my main problem was the writing, too many storylines going on at once. And again, you're like, David, you're just a simpleton. Can't you keep up with all this cool Marvel lore? Like, yeah, I know what they're doing. I know when they toss out a bone to the comic fans and the MCU fans and little tidbits here and there. But the overall storyline felt like, again, it felt like a just a placeholder. Like it's like, oh, we're not going to get to anything important, which I think that's actually the subject. I want to talk about this, but we're also not really gonna we're not just gonna leave you hanging with something simple like there's a guy with a gun, he's evil. Like they went into a little bit of depth, but really, I think what people went to watch this movie was see Harrison Ford Hulk out, Red Hulk style. But the problem was, I saw that in the trailer, and it wasn't much different than the trailer, which was a little disappointing. I was hoping we'd get a little bit more insight into the movie that I'm really looking forward to, Thunderbolts coming out. Maybe a little bit insight to that. But that was pretty much my overall take of the movie. Not bad, not good, not great, just about mediocre. But that wasn't the real stir up when it came to this movie. I think the movie did okay in the box office. There was this clip. Oh, and by the way, guys, I've been working. This is a little side rant. I know my clips when it comes out to you. I have a delay, and so my clips don't have a delay. So I've been trying to time this perfectly because I'm all about timing. It's like the key to being funny. So I try to time these well, and it doesn't always work. So I'm always talking over the first part of the clip, and then after the clip ends, it's just me staring at the screen, wide, and just awkward silence the whole time. Anyway, so if that happens, I'm getting better at timing. So either way, well, there was this thing that came out before the movie did, and it was a big controversy. Where old Anthony Mackie, the main character, Falcon, or the Captain America now, came out and said some things that didn't come off very well. And a lot of people took this short clip where he says, Captain America doesn't mean America. And people were like, oh my God. Oh my God. Trump won. How are they still doing this? Why are they still doing it? Well, I'm pretty sure this happened before Trump. One, maybe it didn't. Who cares? These people are actors. They're not real thinkers here. They're just actors. They do a good job acting, and that's what they're there for. So I don't expect much out of every time you sit one of these phony baloney Hollywood types down to give me your analysis on what the symbolism behind them. Don't expect much. We're gonna see that. We're gonna see that come through. But he did talk about it, and I found the clip where it was a little bit more extended. And what he mentions here is going to be pretty much the topic of what we're dealing with in America in general, not just the movie, but America in general. So we're going to chit chat about it. But I want you to watch this clip, and then I'm going to talk about it and how it relates to the movie and how this relates to America in general. So check this clip out.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of, this is kind of like an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid, all of us as actors, I believe, wanting.
All right, I'm going to pause it real quick. I'm sorry if this doesn't overlap the same way you would. So I'm going to pause it real quick because he's about to go into a little bit of the story, but I want to catch that first part without going back and replaying it. He basically said that this Captain America isn't America. It's about basically integrity. As someone who's has integrity, a man of his word, someone who's trustworthy. So I kind of get that. He was like, Captain America is not about the collective, the idea of America. It's about an individual who's trustworthy and all these good standards. But that wasn't really that's not the thing that people bump into. It would have been an idealistic idea of what the American ethos is, trustworthiness, whatever, all the other integrity, someone a man of his word. These things have these. You can take America and take an individual characteristic of that, and you can mash them together, kind of the way Steve Rogers did. And we'll go into that in a little bit more. But I want to finish this out because, again, we're listening to actors, guys. These are theater kids, and on every Sunday, I'm either talking about a news commentator or a politician or an actor because they're all theater kids. Guys, they're all theater kids. We're going to see that tonight too. I will not let you down. Anyway, let's continue on because this next part is wild, but it does sum up Captain America, this whole Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie style
I want to
versus
get
Steve
back to
Rogers.
that
So
day
listen to what he's
before
got to say.
someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess in the tower, that kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day somebody told him no.
All right, I'm going to stop it. So he's basically saying, like, you remember when you were a kid and you were out playing pretend out in the yard? Well, that kid really believes he's doing something. No, he doesn't. He's a kid and he knows he's playing pretending. So that automatically, I'm like, that's weird. But now he's going to go into being like, well, then an adult tells you no, and
No
it ruins
dragons, it's
everything.
not a
Okay.
sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was for me.
All right. So, I understand his concept, and to be honest, this bleeds over into the movie and his character in general. So there's a few things I want to talk right off the bat. A lot of people are hating because they hate the fact that Steve Rogers is in Captain America. I never bumped into that. I get passing the mantle. I didn't think Sam Wilson was a bad mantle to pass it to. Um, doesn't bother me at all. Um, but there is something very specific here. So basically saying remember when you were a kid and you played pretend and then the world hit you and you're like, oh, this isn't, I want to get back to where you can be idealistic again, which is actually exactly what Captain America is. Because the dragons aren't real. The stick is not a sword, and there's no princess in the tree. Right. And so there's these things are, but you're the point of playing pretend that is to act out a scenario where things that are real, like integrity and chivalry and strength and courage, those things are real, even if the adversary isn't. That's playing pretend. So, getting back to that, what he was talking about there, I thought was really interesting because the breakdown of this movie, his Captain America versus Steve Rogers, Chris Evans' Captain America, is there's and it's very meta because throughout the whole movie, Anthony Mackie's character, Sam Wilson's like, bro, I can't follow up Steve Rogers. He's had super serum. He's like an icon, and I'm over here just fumbling the ball all the time. I can't back that up. And so the moral of the story in Brave New World is, it's okay to not be superhero. It's the fact that you're a human like everybody else. And so there's actually a quote in this, and I think it was online. I think Marvel posted. It's like, Steve Rogers was there to give some people something to believe in. And Sam Wilson's Captain America is to give something people can aspire to. Meaning, no one can aspire to be Captain America because he's the superhero. He's super soldier serum. He's strong. He's cool looking. He throws a shield. But people can relate to Sam Wilson because he's like them. And that's where you get to like, oh my God, are we doing the whole, he looks like me. I can be just, because this is not what kids do at all. Guys, when I was a kid, do you know who I played pretend to be? Cis white hetero podcaster. No, I played pretend to be a Ninja Turtle. Do I look like a Ninja Turtle to you? Do you think that bothers me now? Maybe a little. It might bother me. Who cares? I play pretend to be somebody that I could never be a Ninja Turtle. But I play pretend. And I think that's the difference between Steve, and this is why I think Steve Rogers Captain America works good and feels like America versus Sam Wilson's, which is a bit doesn't, it just feels something's off there. There's a few points. So I'm gonna do, guys, trust me, I could sit on this for a long time, but I don't normally do this on Pardon Live, so I'm speeding right through it. So Steve Rogers, that Captain America, was an idealist. Like it's the top idol. Maybe you don't have secret serum, but his integrity and his honesty, the fact he jumps on a grenade, that's something you can do. He's an ideal. He's the best of the best person that you would want to be. Now you can't be him, but you aim for that. It's that Jordan Peterson. You aim for the highest good, and then you hit somewhere around there. Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson's Captain America is just a realist of being like, you can't be him, but you can kind of be like me, which is not superpowers, but we stand up for good. So they're kind of the same Captain America. It's just one is an idea and a, I guess, just an ideal to shoot for, and one is just like, that stick is really just a stick. It's not a sword, and there's really no dragon. But we kind of look similar, and we both are human, so you can be Captain America too. As if kids need that, and that's what I'm getting to. This is why it doesn't work. No one needs to. When you watch a superhero movie, no one's going away going like, "Oh, I can be just like Sam Wilson with the wings." I mean, we're getting to that point now with Elon. We might actually have wings and stuff like that. We can fly around, but that's not the point. None of that superhero shows, the point of them is not to be like, hey, let's make this as relatable as possible. No, it's to give you a high ideal of, and then to focus on the things that you can achieve, like courage and bravery and chivalry and sacrifice. Those things you can do. And the highest, it would be cool if you had superpowers. For sure. I would love that too. I wanted to be a turtle, guys. A turtle. And now the only turtle I gotta look up to is Mitch McConnell. That's that was a dumb joke. Sorry about that one. Anyway, so that's the two. That's why Steve Rogers one works better than Sam Wilson's. The other easy, blatant one, and this is why it's really hard for me to be sold on the Sam Wilson's one, is in the early Avengers, these characters that play like your Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. You got your Thors and you got your Chris Evans, your Captain Americas. You got these characters, and they're very blatantly a stereotypical concept of what they are. Like Chris Evans is like from the 1950s. All of that old school moralism concepts are built in. Like everything's about the good. We're always about doing the moral good, and that like it was always played up. Like he's old timer. He's 100 years old. He's not in with the times, but he's founded in this moral compass. That's his thing. And then you had Thor, which was kind of like um just kind of overgrown child, but would fight for his family, and family was the most important thing. Was really into that, and he kind of stood out in his cartoonish, you can kind of feel like a cartoonish like adolescence, because of course he's the son of Odin. And then you have Robert Downey Jr., which his whole thing was redemption and learning how to be, you know, use his skills for good instead of evil. And these people played into these characters hard. If you were to be like, well, what's Sam Wilson's like hardcore trait? Like, what's the thing that makes him stand out from all the other Avengers? His character doesn't have anything. It's just like his character. This whole thing is like, I'm in this position that I don't think I should be in. His character trait is imposter syndrome. Like that's it. That's what these kids have to look up to. You want to be like the new Captain America? He doesn't feel like he's supposed to be here. Like that's not going to work, and it doesn't work. Like I like Sam Wilson's character, but he's not Captain America because he doesn't even believe in himself the whole time. And right at the last minute, he stands up. He's like, I'm going to do what's right because I believe. But you don't believe it. He doesn't feel it. Anyway, I'm a grown man ranting about comic book heroes. This is what I was going to say. America's back, baby, because America is starting to uh, have an ideal that we're moving towards. And that's what you see all the politics stuff, this Doge and all this stuff coming out. It's like we want to get back to maybe not exactly like make America great again is the MAGA phrase, right? And that's basically like make America the ideal of what we always wanted it to be. Maybe not even where it was in the 80s, because I mean that we peaked out late 80s, early 90s, let's be honest. And making it great again would be like, well, we can kind of get back to the 80s and 90s. What would be 80s and 90s that would be better? And that's the concept. It's a real Captain America ideologue. Like, what is the highest ideal that America as a collective can shoot for? Anyway, the other thing he mentioned in that little speech he gave was he took something like ethereal, like America, like a collective of Americans, America as an idea. And then he's like, Captain America is more about, and then he shifted to the individual. These are individualistic traits, which I think is something we should probably chit chat about tonight. If I can kind of weave it in, because I do think there's this concept of when it comes to a collective, a group of people, when we want to think of the best, like when we think of like, what's the best thing about these collective? But as soon as you start to get to the negative, what's the worst thing about the collective? It always shrinks to an individual. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm a bit of an individualist. I don't really like to think in collectives. And but I talk about collectives all the time on here, and I use references like leftists and right wingers and all that stuff because it's the easiest way to convey an ideologue. So when I say check out these leftists, I'm not talking about check out these. Yes, check out these individual leftists. The problem is not the individual. The problem is the collective mindset, and that actually has. But if you were to dig down deep, like what's your real problem with leftists? It's not really the individual. It's the overarching ideologue of a leftist. Basically, communism. I have a problem with communism. Um, Anyway, so A Brave New World, mediocre at best. I'm looking forward to it because I thought it might play up the Thunderbolts a little bit more. I do think Thunderbolts are coming in and it's going to rock. I'm standing by Thunderbolts. It's going to rock. Fantastic Four. You guys heard my spiel on that. Probably going to be a decent movie. Won't rock because you can't rock the Fantastic Four because those characters suck. Anyway, moving on. Oh, so this is well, let's see. This is I'm gonna save that for last. All right, so speaking of, I don't know how am I gonna segue into this. Either way, it's a Brave New Clown World. I thought we'd bring something up. So this week, Worcester, Mass. I don't know if you guys saw the clips at a council where they voted to stay a sanctuary city for trans folks, which just sounds fantastic. It's Worcester. I'm sure a lot of great people in Worcester. Anyway, at the city council meeting, they had a bunch of trans people. I think they're trans. I don't even know at this point in time. Bunch of clowns showed up in a clown car. They all piled out, and you got to see, at least I did, tons of clips of just interchangeables. Like here's 2 seconds, 3 seconds of all of these clowns making their plea, and it was hilarious. I mean, it's kind of scary, but it was hilarious. And instead of showing you that thing that you've seen all week long, I thought I'd show you something totally different. So this is one. This is one. It's a bit elongated, and I want to talk about this a little bit of length to kind of give you my idea of. Actually, we're just going to watch it, and then I'm going to talk about it. So here you go.
Hello, Council. Remember me from last week? Oh, you don't remember me from last week? Could it be because gender is a construct? I'm Anna. Been a Worcester resident for 24 years. Tonight, I'm coming to you as Laddie LaRouge, otherwise known as Lady LaRouge.
All right, I'm going to pause it already. I like how she was like, what, you don't recognize me from last week? Is that because gender is a construct? Number one, I guarantee everyone recognizes her. Like, oh yeah, I totally recognize this chick or dude, whatever she wants to go by, it goes by. But that's kind of the point. Just like, you don't even recognize me. He's like, no, we do. And we all saw this coming because how do you miss that? How do you miss this? How do you miss this? Anyway, I thought this was a great way to start this off. So this is Worcester, Mass. She's got a thing she wants to tell city council, so we're gonna keep going.
Lady LaRouge. Tonight I'm Laddie. When I'm in drag, I use he, they pronouns. And I am a proud and loud queer artist in the city. I am a local burlesque and drag performer, producer, educator, and historian. And I'd like to ask the council and Mayor Petty why you've ghosted us, left us on red, have not responded to our emails asking for a formal apology, both to Councilor Nguyen and the whole queer community.
All right, I'm going to answer this one for her because I'm sure everybody's thinking, like, why didn't you answer my emails? This right here, just look at this. And now we saw all the other clips. I mean, she's not the only one. I mean, when they're in drag. And here's the other thing: does this give drag bad name? Look, what? Like it's. I mean, drag. You can't give drag any worse name than they already give themselves. But again, this doesn't even seem fair. It doesn't seem fair. She's literally a clown. Literally a clown. Dressed up like a clown. Why don't you answer my emails? Because you're dressed like a clown. No one can take this seriously. No one can take this seriously. And so again, going back to collective, when I say the leftists are crazy, like, well, David, are you really just talking about? Yeah, I'm talking about her. But as a collective, because there is people in this audience who are not dressed in drag taking this lady seriously. So what is that about? How the one guy who didn't answer her email, he's probably a lefty too. So I can't just lump him in with this, but it's kind of hard not to. How are you not? Okay. All right. So one theory I had after seeing all these clips, do they do this? And I was like, I think I figured it out. Do they do this to make sure they draw attention? Because they're like, well, I don't want to get up there dressed like old Jane Doe here because I'm just going to say some things. They're not going to listen to me. But if I dress like a clown, then they'll take me serious. Because if I just dress normal, they're going to be like, oh, this is just a normal person. Why were we going to listen to them? Everything's backwards. It's backwards world. It's backwards world. If you were a clown, guys, if you were a clown and you were like, on my fun time, I dress like a clown because that's who I really am inside. And you're like, hey, you got to go to court or you got to go, somewhere fancy. You're like, oh, you got to give a speech in front of people. They're not really sold on what you believe in. So you need to put your best foot forward. Would you be like, well, I'm definitely dressing like the most ridiculous clown ever? Or would you be like, no, this time I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to read the room. And I'm gonna be like, I want them to take me seriously about what I'm about to say. Now, they could go in and be like, hey, I want to talk about how clowns are not being taken seriously. And I would listen to you. Be like, okay, let's hear this lady out. I would listen to you. Had she not dressed like that, I'd be like, oh, maybe she's got a point. Let's hear her out. She obviously is not mentally ill that we can see. I mean, she's a woman, but put that aside. Let's hear her out. And then she could have been like, hey, you guys are, you got whatever she's saying. Right now, I don't even know what she's saying because I can't listen to her because she's a clown. I keep expecting like a honk, like a whacker, like every time she steps somewhere because her shoes are huge. This is my point. Like, how am I supposed to how is anyone supposed this is why it's funny. This is why it's a Brave New Clown World. It's because these people were like, the only way we're going to get our message across is if we dress the most, we look insane. That's it. And then they'll treat us like sane people. Let's look as insane as possible, and then they'll treat us like sane people. Wild, guys. Wild. And so I guarantee this is not all. No, I take it. This isn't all liberals, but this is like all lefties. This is all of them. Like, this is, if you are a sane liberal and you're a Democrat voter, and when you go to city council meetings, you just look like you would normally, I don't know, you just didn't spend a ton of time with the getup. I don't know if I can consider you a lefty. Guys, Trump, the MAGA movement, it's a ton of Democrats. It's just sane liberals, a ton of liberals, almost all liberals in this cabinet, except for a few hardcore right-wingers like Hegseth. But they're all liberals. They're all liberals. Anyway, let's continue on. Maybe she's got something important to say. Maybe. I friggin' highly
because
doubt
by
it.
not doing so, you're sending a message not only to your constituents, but to the queer community as a whole and every visitor that comes to the city that I used to be proud to call home. Not so much this past few weeks.
She's not proud to call Worcester her home because there's sane people. There's like normal people. She's not proud of that? Guys, if I was in there, I'm like, I'm not proud to be here because of you. You are making me not proud to be a part of Worcestershire, whatever. You could flip this right back on her. Like, the reason why we're having so many issues is because we got clowns running around everywhere.
Worcester is home to world-renowned stages, the Hanover Theater, Tuckerman Hall, Mechanics Hall, who host touring artists from around the world. I know if I were a trans or non-binary actor on a Broadway tour who's coming to this city this year, I would not feel safe coming to Worcester.
Did you guys hear that? There it is. Found it. I friggin' found it. Every time, guys. Pax Romana, but for theater. They're all theater kids. All theater kids. She was like, out of all the things that you could have picked, she went straight to theater. If all my LGBTQ theater kids were to come through, they would not feel safe. Think about all the theaters that we have. She lists off the theaters. Theater kids, theater kids, theater kids. It always comes back to theater kids. They're all theater kids. Every one of them. And that's why she's dressed like a clown. She's trying to get an acting deal. She's trying to gain attention. And when you're white, you're in if you're one grain of sand on a beach, how else are you going to stand out? Glitter. Become glitter. That's all this is. That's all, guys. That's all it is. That's all it is. This is just this is a sitcom pitch. This is her trying to make her mark. And jokes on old David here. He's got her on the podcast talking about it. This is more exposure for her. Hope it does her good. I hope she finds like a good career in theater, like Cirque du Soleil or something. Anyway, let's keep going because I'm sure
with the rhetoric that's been allowed to fly in these chambers, I wouldn't feel safe. We need a public apology now. Get on it. Speaking of getting on it, I'd like to speak in support of item 8I that you, council, request that you, city manager Batista, commit and act on creating an LGBTI coalition and task force to address issues of queerphobia, specifically transophobia, as you like to say, Joe Petty, and any other biphobias, xenophobia,
arachnophobias, whatever, it doesn't matter. Dude, she even threw an accent in there. Theater kid, acting. It's acting 101, guys. This is it. I nailed it. I figured it out. When I say, so next time you're like, David's always talking about not looking at the individual, not, referring to the collective, because not everybody's a monolith. Wrong. When I say these lefties are insane, what I mean is these theater kids are insane. And they all just so happen to be on the left because, play pretend. That's all it is play pretend. It's just playing pretend. It's just playing pretend. We got some comments coming in. True Hype coming out of YouTube. There's an old saying in urban culture: real recognize real. Clowns recognize clowns. That's how I picked up on theater kids. Guys, what if that's how I'm like, they're all theater kids? Because I'm secretly one. Not secretly a theater kid. But I probably could pass. You imagine if I put makeup on? You imagine one day Pardon Will Live is just I come on here and I'm dressed like a clown. It'd be awesome. None of these folks look familiar. I don't recognize them either. No, I'm pretty sure she was in Joker. The new one, the musical one, the musical theater one. I'm sure she loved that. Anyway, guys, I don't even know. Let's just finish it. Whatever.
And other bigotry that have been displayed by members of this cabinet. My ask is that this task force addresses the discrimination and issues in this council first and then expands to the greater Worcester community. Speaking of, I'd also like to support item 8J, asking for $500,000 in funding to go to the queer community via a Queer and Trans Alliance Fund dedicated to addressing the needs of the LGBTQIA community.
That's my favorite part. This wasn't the only person. Every time they get up, they're like, God, address the LGBT two-spirit, equal sign. They stumble over it because it's so expansive. And I love that. They're like, hey, we need a task force. We need more money towards a task force to support a community that's ever expanding. You mean like a task force just to support what? You know what they should? They should spend Worcester. Here's how you solve this problem. Do what you're saying. Create a task force to address the bigotry towards the alphabets. And the best way to do it is make a community center. Make a LGBTQ community center plus A- two-spirit. Make a community center. Spend all that money. Build a center. Make a community center for them. Put a theater in it. That'll draw them in for sure. And then just have some like doctors in there who can prescribe meds. Like jackets that tie around in the back, and support their dreams. Let them be on stage all the time acting out their plays. They'd love it. And then you'd collect them all into one building, and then the regular townsfolk wouldn't have to deal with it. They wouldn't even have to deal with it. It's a giant theater, hospital theater. Mix them together. Whatever. I'm just playing, guys. These people are clowns. You don't put them on stage. Put them in circus. Circus is it. Task force for a circus. I'm joking. These jokes suck. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you hanging out. That was a fun one. I figured, like, how am I not going to address the Worcester Mass thing? I thought that was a blast. Speaking of theater, there was one topic when we're talking about the collective individual. I found this thing. Actually, speaking of theater, wouldn't you know? Like it's hard not to talk about theater kids because they're all over my timeline now. Elon knows apparently the things that I bookmark. So here's another theater kid that we haven't seen in a hot minute. And I thought, you know what would be best when people are getting real worried about this Trump thing, these deportations, these tariffs. Like, oh man, this Trump guy, this is going pretty quick. Guys, I can't even keep up. And I was like, it's a good cold glass of water to the face just to remember what you could have had. And guys, you could have had this theater kid. Check it out.
for those rights to be maintained, which means we have to be vigilant, and it's just the nature of it. Yes, I mean, look at this beautiful play and everything that we know he had to suppress so much.
Oh, Kamala's back, and she's giving talks to people. And wouldn't you know it, who's she giving talks to? Who is she giving these inspirational chats to? You guessed it, Broadway, theater kids. Theater kids. This is where they all hang out. They all know each other. Guys, they're all theater kids. They're every one of them, every last one theater kid. Anyway, I thought, maybe now that she's not running and campaigning, she can get to her true self, which is probably acting on Broadway or giving speeches to people who do act on Broadway. Our highest of intellects, Shakespearean thespians. She's given some inspirational talks. I thought maybe we'd hear and what we missed out. We're gonna miss this for the next 4 years. This could have been every week press conference. Could have had her giving these inspirational talks. So let's hear what she's got to say.
But he knew, and he took those risks. But we have to be clear-eyed. And it doesn't mean we don't see the beauty in everything, right? These things all coexist. But I believe we fight for something, not against something.
Guys, you imagine I've got to get a freaking laugh track and stuff in the studio. We got to fight for something instead of against something. Oh, profound. My words. Can we put that in a play? That's powerful. Really? I guarantee, and I'm not, look, this isn't a bash on theater kids. This is a bash on Kamala, who wants to be one. I guarantee these theater people are like, all right, guys, look, actually, I'm going to address the hammer thing in a minute. They're all acting. They're all acting like they're astonished about how powerful the thing she just said. They're acting because they're theater kids. Anyway, let's continue on. We're going to talk about whether or not we think she's drunk or not.
Right. And that's our optimism, right?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. With that, I'll make.
That's it. Guys, is Kamala hammered? I'm starting to believe no. I think this is just her. I think this is just her. This is her being her real, true self. This is her truth. I don't think she's drinking at all. I think this is just her natural state. And I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I'm glad she's living her dream on Broadway. I don't know if you guys know this. Joe signed to the CAA, which is a California talent agency that all your favorite actors. Old Joey Biden signed on to them. I almost brought that article up last week. Why would Joe Biden get a talent? Theater kid. I don't know. Theater kid. They're all theater kids. Anyway, that's enough of old Kamala. I'm so happy we don't have to deal with her for the next 4 years. I mean, I would have had material. That was the worry. Like, what happens when Trump gets into office? And I got to come on here every Sunday night and be like, oh, here's what Morning Joe says about Trump again. Same old, nothing new. Wrong. I can't even keep up with the stuff I could have talked about. Every week I tell you this, I've got stuff I got to sift through. I got to edit. I got to cut. Can't talk about that. Too much time. It's going to take too long. Can't deal with it. Tons of stuff, guys. Tons of stuff. Here's another one. We're going to shift away from the theater kid thing for a hot minute. I want to bring up this topic. Anyway, I had no real segment away from that. Actually, I'm going to pull in Alex Jones real quick. Guys, one of the reasons why, and you might think I'm phoning it in this week. I'm not. These aren't just funny clips that I found. I was like, I'll just play them and we'll laugh and then move on to the next. There's a point to the story. There's a point to Brave New Clown World. And we're kind of slowly working through it. But before we go any further, speaking of play pretending, and I'm gonna do a little segue here. Actually, let me do this. Your boy has been super busy because he's a game developer now. I don't know if you know this. Pardon Will, David Lilly is made a game, in the process of making a game. Now, it's not what you think. He's not writing up code, coming up with some cool video game. Nope. Way too old school for that. Too much of a Luddite. I was a big fan of D&D, but the one thing D&D didn't have is it didn't have all the fun stuff that I liked, all the Victorian era stuff. I didn't want to wrestle dragons and fight ogres. I mean, I did. That sounds fun. I love Lord of the Rings, but not really my style. I was like, I would like a D&D for a Victorian. I want to be like a Sherlock character. I want to go hunt Frankenstein down, and Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, that kind of stuff. I want to do something like that for D&D. And the only thing I could find was a few quests that didn't really work. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? What I always do. If I want something, I can't find it, I make it myself. Well, guys, I made my own. And it's called Flintlock and Fox. So it's in the process of being beta tested right now. That's what I'm focusing on, and about to publish the player's manual beta version of it. So it's right off the press line. Should be by the end of the month. We're going to have this. And when I say beta version, I mean like I've played it multiple times. It functions for what I think it functions with. But the only thing I don't know is I don't know if everyone else thinks the same thing I think. So I've been beta testing with some friends. But what I want to do is when this thing comes published out, when I publish this thing out, I want to get other people involved to play it on their own, so they can tell me, hey, this works, this doesn't work. So when I say you should go to flintlockandfog.com, check it out, and sign up to become a beta tester, what I'm basically saying is don't just play my game for free so I can milk your ideas off. What I'm saying is become part of this game experience. Now, if you played D&D before, and you're like, I love D&D, but I'm older now, and video games are my style, but don't you miss the good old days of gathering around a table with your friends and just hanging out and rolling some dice and play pretending? All you guys are theater kids too. I know you are. Well, now I made this Flintlock and Fog. Same thing. You sit around, play with your friends. You can actually play it online too, which is what I've been doing. And you can check those videos out on my YouTube. But either way, I'm going to be beta testing that. And you're going to start seeing live streams with me beta testing with my friends. I've said beta test more than anyone should ever say in their lifetime. Either way, I'm going to quit now. This is the end of this thing. So go to flintlockandfog.com, become a beta tester. And here's why. We're going to cut to me. We're done with this. Here's why it's cool. Because when I say get on the ground floor of this, I'm not talking about, hey, sign up, it's a newsletter, and I'll let you know when the thing comes out. And if you play it, you play it. And then you're like, hey, this thing worked, it kind of worked. And I'll, write a comment section, a scathing critique. And I'll just take it and run with it. And then you'll see the final version come out months from now. What I'm saying is you get to be a part of it. So if you sign up for a beta testing now, it's free. You can go in there. You're going to get all of the materials that I come out with after the publishing done, all the character sheets, any maps that I have created. You get all of that. But on top of that, you get to participate in what items and abilities and things. So if you were like, hey, I played the game, this would be a great ability for this style of character that I played. And if I go, hey, that is a great idea, we're going to take that. We're going to let you name it. You throw it in there and it becomes canonized. Same with items. Say you're cool. Say your name on the internet is True Hype, and you're like, hey, I've been beta testing this thing for a while. I'm giving out items to go canonize. So if I'm like, hey, there's a revolver, and you design what the revolver does, you do all that, and you get to name it, and you name it True Hype's revolver. And we might play with that a little bit, make it a little bit more historical relevant, but then we're throwing it in canonized, and it's there forever from then on. So you actually become part of building the game. It was a long spiel. That was the longest ad read to say, hey, join the beta test because you get to be part of the development. You get in the back, you get your name and all that. And as this thing grows, you get to be on the ground floor as it develops. Anyway, that was my spiel. Since we were talking about playing pretend. Back to playing pretend. I've got one more clip for you. Oh, actually, playing pretend. This one's fun. This has nothing to do with playing pretend, but I thought this would be a fun one to share. Because it's a blast. Check this out. So our boy David Hogg, no, not David Hogg. It's Harry Sisson. Let me show you this. Guys, I apologize. I confused David Hogg with Harry Sisson as if they are not the same person. So I think it was today. Daytona 500. Trump's out there. He's in the Beast, the limousine, riding around the racetrack. Harry Sisson, and this, I guess it kind of does tie into theater kids, had something to say about it. And this is what he's a youngster, Democrat operative, I would have to assume. Theater kid. He's definitely a theater kid. He says Donald Trump is at Daytona 500 today and took a lap. Let's make sure you guys see it. Yep. And took a lap around the track in his motorcade. Where is Doge, guys? This costs millions to do. It costs millions and billions, guys. It costs millions and billions. That one lap, that was millions. Where's their cutting wasteful spending? The first Super Bowl and now this. Guys, old Harry Sisson. Let's talk about one thing. I never bring Harry Sisson up on the podcast. Few reasons why. He's a young kid, obviously disregard. I disregard everything he says, not because he's on the left, but because to me, he comes off like that chick at the Wisher. Like he's just a clown. He's a clown. He's a young kid. He's dumb. His points are awful. And he just kind of makes an ass of himself. And I feel bad because there's going to be a point in time where he turns like 35. I mean, I say this might not be true. Turns 35 and he's like, oh my God, what did I do? I ruined my name. So I try not to bring him up because I still have hope for this kid, hopefully. But the problem is kid's last name is Sisson. It's like we live in a simulation. Like that's so close to the word sissy. And he looks like a sissy. He looks like a sissy, guys. His last name's Sisson. And now I get it. You're like, David, your last name's Lily. I don't look like a flower, but I get it. I know what it's like to have names that don't always match up with your aesthetic, but he looks like a sissy. So I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, I try not to bring him up because he's really a nobody. Huge following for the TikTokers. Not really. He doesn't really show up on my radar because it's like hearing a child throw a tantrum at a playground. You're like, oh my God, stop, just stop. Go away now. That's how I think of that kid. Anyway, apparently it cost millions of dollars for Trump to take a lap at the Daytona. Don't know where he's getting that number from, but I'm going to go and believe him. Here's why it's important. Going back to the Captain America thing, the ideal. Trump goes to the Super Bowl. Trump's at the motorcade in Daytona. Trump is altering culture more than just politics. Now, presidents always play the political game, but Trump is literally bringing himself into all things that feel American. McDonald's, cheeseburgers, Super Bowl, Daytona 500. This is all cultural stuff. This is cultural. It's not virtue signaling. It's cultural signaling. It's him saying, hey, we're bringing American culture back to the forefront. And the reason it's back for is because he's participating in that. He's not just showing up the Daytona 500. He's going to drive around. Guys, it would not surprise me. And people hate this stuff, and I have no idea why. And I think it's because it's been a long time coming. Would not surprise me if Trump shows up to a wrestling match and gets in the ring. President Trump at WWF, back in his old stomping grounds, no pun intended, back in the ring. And I think it's important. I think it's absolutely important because it's showing a presidential character not separate from the American culture and the American people. The things that that's why the McDonald's thing was so powerful. Because it's not him with his DC elites eating filet mignon, although he should. The guy's got a golden toilet. Why is he eating McDonald's? This is so weird. Why is he at Daytona? Like David, he's just grifting. Or he knows what it means to have an American culture, American spirit. An ideal, guys. Steve Rogers, Captain America. Not a weird imposter syndrome where he doesn't, people, only half the country voted for me with this mandate. No, like real American culture. Getting in there, getting his hands dirty. Trump gets it. Trump gets the Captain America theme. I mean, that was a long way around. Guys, that was a long way around to tie Captain America into it, but I did it anyway. That's why you guys are here. One more clip. We're going to sign off for the evening. And I thought this was fun. This is just a fun one. We're going to watch this. Again, when I say lefty, not all of them look like clowns, but they eventually. So even if a lefty doesn't dress like a clown, when they open their mouth, you're like, oh no, that's definitely a clown. So I got one of those for you, but I thought we'd chit chat about it just for a small smidge.
I think I kind of pity right wingers because they're so fucking boring, Like, imagine.
Oh, my bad. Earmuffs, guys. I forgot. I think she cusses a lot in this, which is.
Imagine not really having any curiosity about deeper and more expansive concepts. Everything's just like handed to them and they go, oh, okay, like my grandpappy didn't like black people, so I guess I don't either. Like, it's so fucking boring. Like, no real exploration of what it means to be a person or meeting other people outside of your sad, boring, hateful little bubble.
All right, guys. Well, this was news to me. And maybe she's got a point there. Because she does have a point. Her caricature straw man of a right winger is super boring. she's not wrong. She's not wrong. It is a very boring cliche that this drawing of what a right winger is. My granddaddy hated black people, so that's what I'm going to do. Whatever that is, that's your right winger. This is why the collective is so dangerous, because I'm pretty sure she's like, if you voted for Trump, that sounds like this is you. This is you. This is really you. Just ignore the fact there was a ton of Latinos and black people that voted for Trump. Doesn't matter. Her straw man is standing up stiff, and for everyone to see. Total caricature, and it is boring. She's right. It's a boring caricature that we've heard over and over and over and over again. Over and over again. And this is why I think it's funny. Because not only is that a weird caricature, because everyone right wing, you'd have to say, like, if you're MAGA or Maha or libertarian, you're right wing now, according to her caricature. But I mean, I'm assuming that's all. When I say lefty, it's again, I try not to do caricatures. It's not like I'm painting every lefty like a clown. Like, this lady is obviously not dressed as a clown, but when she talks like a clown. Because it's ridiculous. Anyway, I wanted to point out the fact that this monolith doesn't work. This is what right wingers are. Exhibit A, Trump's cabinet. All of those, your right wingers like your RFK Juniors and your right winger Tulsi Gabbard and your right winger, I don't know, all your commentators, your right winger Donald Trump. All these lefties are all right wingers now. It's so boring. You don't even think about the diversity of thought. Coming from a left winger is mind blowing. The diversity of thought, because they all think the same. They all think the same. Here's a good litmus test. Next time you're watching the news, or you're watching a TV show, or you're watching an actor or a theater kid in any form that they come in, which is almost all forms now. If you're in front of a screen like I am, you're probably a theater kid. Again, that was an indictment on myself just now. I understand that. I am fully aware and self-effacing. If you are anybody, I can guarantee I know all of your positions, all of them, and you can do the same thing. Next time you watch The View, and you've never seen The View, I'm sure. I've never seen it. You watch The View, and you're like, oh, they're going to talk about, I don't know, pick something, H-1B visas. Well, they're never going to talk. That's too complicated. They're going to talk about tariffs. That might be too complicated too. Anyway, whatever the topic is, you can go ahead and assume what their position is, because it's so hard to not collectivize them. And the reason why it's hard not to collectivize the lefty is because it's a mind hive. It's a hive mind hive. I'm turning dyslexic tonight. It's a hive mind. They all get their orders. They all get and they just follow in suit. And you know what? We're like, David, they're not all hive mind. They are. Because as soon as you break away with an individualistic thought, like, I don't know about that, you're right wing now. Boom. RFK, you're on that side. Boom. Tulsi Gabbard, you're on that side. Joe Rogan, you're on that side. Dave Rubin, you're on that side. As soon as you're like, hey, I think I might think for myself, right wing extremists, get out of here. And that's why it's funny, because she's characterizing the right wing as it's just projection. All of you guys hate black people because your granddaddy hated black people. Okay, tell that to Larry Elder. Figure that one out. Larry Elder hates black people because he's the black face of white supremacy. Because his granddad was probably black face of white supremacy too. Anyway, it's projection. They only think in collectives too. So that's the problem with that's the problem with thinking in collective, like a lefty. You're in a hive mind, so everybody outside of the hive mind must be in their hive mind too, right? Except for when Trump does something crazy, like he's like, I want to take over Gaza. Half of MAGA is like, whoa, this might be a bad idea. Or he does something like, maybe tariffs are, we're going to tariff everything. And there's people in the MAGA sphere going like, maybe tariff everything might not be the best idea. It's weird. It's weird that you would have these dissenters in these big establishments, like a big tent, like a right-winger tent. They can't comprehend. That's my point. She's complaining that right-wingers can't comprehend and expand their thought out when she can only expand it out to the inside of her bubble. That's it. That she can only think of the inside of her bubble. And she's like, how come all these right-wingers can only do this? It's freaking wild, bro. Anyway, let's continue on.
I think it's kind of sad. It's a little pitiful. I'm so glad I don't have to be like that. You should be glad you don't have to be like that. as you move forward in your day, when these people are making you want to absolutely scream, and I get it because they make me want to absolutely scream, I want you to think to yourself, thank goodness I'm not that fucking boring. Because that would suck, right? It seems like it would suck. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.
All right, guys. Thank God you're not that boring. Two things. There's an actual scripture that she just referenced just then. I don't know if you picked up on that, but in Luke, I think it's chapter 18, Jesus is telling a parable of a Pharisee and a tax collector. I'm going to do a real quick Bible study for you guys. He's talking about what it means to be to receive salvation, receive mercy. He says there's two people. They're in a temple or a church. Pharisees up at the front, praise and worshiping God, and he says, "Thank you, Jesus." Or not. Obviously, Pharisees not saying "Thank you, Jesus." Another topic, different story. "Thank you, God, for not making me like that heathen back there, the tax collector, who's in the back in this parable. The tax collector's in the back, beating his chest and crying, and the Pharisees at the front be like, God, thank God I'm not like that guy." Thank God. Wouldn't that be so boring? Wouldn't it be so boring if I was like that guy? Thank God. It's so pitiful. It's so pitiful. Thank God I'm not like that guy. And just a heads up, spoiler, Jesus is like, yeah, there's two guys in this room, and only one of them's going to heaven. Take a guess of which one that is. Guy in the back. Sorry, quick story. Anyway, I'm happy she wants to scream when she sees him. That's the best part about being a right winger. Guys, you guys seen the show. You've been with me for a year now. None of these people make me want to scream. I don't know if you get that when I see. I mean, there's some stuff that would make me want to fight, maybe, but that's only when you start messing with kids. Don't do that. Then people start getting real angry. But every time I see blue-haired liberals losing it, or people dressing like clowns and making a fuss, I'm not screaming. I'm not screaming. I'm laughing, because that's what you do to clowns. You don't scream at clowns. They don't frustrate you. Clowns shouldn't frustrate you. Theater kids shouldn't frustrate you. None of these people should really get your engines riled up, because that's exactly what they would want. And you're better than that. So the moral of the story is, it's a brave new clown world out there. How are we going to do it? We're going to have integrity. We're going to be a man of our word. We're going to be like Captain America. And we're going to face this brave new world with the highest ideal. And the highest ideal is not letting these crazy clowns infuriate you. Don't get mad. Don't give your anger out for such an easy cost. It's so cheap. Laugh at the clowns, because that's what they're there for. And guys, there's clowns everywhere. It's so easy to laugh. So easy to laugh. Guys, we're going to end this with one more clip. Here's my favorite part about Brave New World. Is whereas everyone was like, Anthony Mackie hates America. He's not even representing America. Old Anthony Mackie, the guy who played Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, did pull the Trump. And so I want to play this just kind of as a nice little redemption arc, because I didn't bash Captain America, but we talked about it and I had some critiques. Here's the best part about the Captain America movie. You ready for this? This was the best part about the new Captain America movie.
Hey guys. All of a sudden, y'all have the best seats in this. My bad. Have fun and enjoy yourself. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being an opening weekend crowd. Thank you for being fans. Thank you for being here because you love these characters and you want to see where these stories are going. It means so much. So thank you. Have fun!
Now that's some Captain America crap right there. That's a Captain America right there. It wasn't in the movie, but after it, still nice. That's some Trump. That's a Trump card. He pulled the Trump card. Show up at the McDonald's. Show up in a garbage truck. Show up at the movie theater. Interact with the people there to see your movie, and be normal. Be human. Don't dress up like a clown. Don't ridicule them. Don't scathe them. Don't tell them if this movie isn't for y'all, don't go see it. Don't do any of this identity politics garbage. Show up to your fans and then be one of them and just say thanks. Just say thanks. That's a Captain America. That's what I'm talking about, guys. That's the theme of America. That is America. That's what I like. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what Trump's trying to get back to. That's what I'm trying to get back to. That's why we're going to do Pardon Will Live every Sunday night, 8:30, to get back to this type of America. That thing right there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight. Hopefully it was a good one. Again, I know what you're thinking. I didn't phone it in, even if we were talking about Marvel half the time. I won't do. Here's my promise to you. I'll make right now. I'll make you a Captain American promise right now. I won't do this Marvel thing again until the next one comes out, which I think is like in May or something. I don't even know when it is. Okay, I won't talk about Marvel again till that point. But I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure it's Fantastic Four, and there will be a Fantastic Four brought up in an episode, and I am going to destroy it. Destroy it. Not because I think it's a bad movie, because the characters are already awful. I will never stop saying this. Already awful. Every one of the characters. A guy that's built out of rocks already got that. A guy that lights on fire, that's unoriginal. How about a guy who stretches every body part? That's problematic. That's just problematic already. And then the only character that is worth their salt, Sue Storm, she turns invisible. Why is she worth their salt? Because every comic book, well, I'll say every comic. If you were like, hey, I wish a woman had a superpower, just make her so I don't see her anymore. Anyway, I regurgitated that joke from last week because it's so good. I don't think you guys laughed last week, so I gave you one more shot. Hopefully you laughed at that joke. It's a funny misogynistic joke. Am I misogynist? No. Am I funny? Apparently not. But the one thing you can do is I give it the old Captain America try. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining Pardon Will Live. We'll be back here next Sunday, 8:30. Like and subscribe, you jabronis, on whatever you're watching this or whatever you're listening to this or whatever. Do the thing. Do the thing. Go to flintlockandfog.com. Sign up to become a beta tester. Get in on the ground level. As this thing moves forward, you're not going to want to miss out. It won't be free forever. So right now it's free. It's not going to be free forever. We're going to merchandise and monetize everything like all the other YouTubers. Anyway, I love you guys and God bless ya.